Hi, how you doing? This is Dr. Ken Mewich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, and welcome to Arizona, the sweltering, extremely hot Arizona. It's going to be about 113 today. It's over 100 already, and it's 12:30 exactly. And so we will entertain you with some very, very interesting information as we tear apart our very, very successful fibromyalgia program and explain to you what we do, why we do it, and why it's successful. I've been sending out messages to a number of you out there concerning our talk today, because it's going to be multifaceted, that's for sure. We're going to be talking about antioxidants. Why are those important for you? And also fibro fog. Obviously, the fibro fog is specific for fibromyalgia patients. The antioxidants actually are for everybody out there. Anybody might be having health problems. And then we're going to start talking about the diet to live for. You know, I hate the word diet. It sounds like dying, okay? But our diet to live for is great because it involves a lot of foods and there's no starvation involved in it. So we're going to start doing that because we detail that within our fibromyalgia patients program, and anybody else that comes in that is highly inflammatory and very, very chronic, or someone that's been sick for quite a while, or that has recent conditions that are uncontrollable. So let's start out with something concerning fibro fog, because it relates back to what I originally started talking about the last couple of times, as a matter of fact. And we're just going to review this for those people that don't know. You can always check back on all of them because we've saved them. This is number 77, the 77th actual live video from Arizona that I've given you. Well, actually, some of them have been from some other areas like Colorado and so forth. And if anybody looked way back, I actually did one in Flagstaff in a snowstorm outside. But anyway, we love to maybe change the area a little bit. This is my office at my home, but I've also done it for my clinic and so forth. So let's take a look at something, a little background here. We're talking about something very, very important, and that is energy produced by our ever-ready batteries in our body. There's trillions of them. They're called mitochondria, and they produce something called adenosine triphosphate. If you don't have mitochondria that produce adenosine triphosphate, you're not going to be alive, because it involves and includes everything in all of your actions and activities within your body. My ability to speak, my skin, my organs, everything. Some organs in your body have a great deal more mitochondria because of what they produce. That's ATP, the energy. That includes the brain, the heart, liver, things of this sort. Some of the areas don't have as much maybe skin, but still every cell in your body actually produces mitochondria, which actually produces an adenosine triphosphate. So why is that important? Because research has shown that for fibromyalgia patients, that an excess amount of phosphate and calcium are produced. Phosphate is negative, and it needs a positive to attract onto, and so it's calcium. Phosphate is important, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, but the excess amount is like putting too much gasoline in your car. It's overflowing, and so it actually literally burns out the mitochondria from producing the energy that you need. The calcium is important, as I mentioned before. A lot of people don't realize when the excess phosphate pulls the calcium, pulls it out of your bones and out of your teeth. So you're going to have possibly additional problems with osteopenia, osteoporosis, and also problems with your teeth and your jaw. But the calcium, for many people don't realize it, is a muscle stimulant. It actually causes muscle contractions. Excess amounts of calcium actually causes ongoing continuous muscle contractions. Why is that important? Because number one, it affects your sleep. Almost every fibromyalgia patient has sleep problems. They don't get deep REM sleep, and so consequently it affects their body's ability to heal. You heal on deep REM sleep. Goes down like this, okay, boom, it comes back up again. But fibromyalgia patients, or those that have excess calcium, they're up here. So it takes you anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 times longer to deal with actually illnesses and conditions. Automobile accidents, the lawyers and everything else, they want to be settled within 2-3 months, so forth. It might take twice as much, 6 to 8 months or longer for a fibromyalgia patient that has an automobile accident, because you're not getting proper deep REM sleep for healing purposes. So not only that, but how many people get shortened sleep? What happens? It affects their body's ability to concentrate and think, and it's fatigue, obviously. For fibromyalgia patients, it's called fibro fog. Many times I'll ask a fibromyalgia patient a question, and it'll take them a while for them to actually concentrate and think of a proper answer. That's what fibro fog is, the inability to really communicate and think clearly. So excess amounts of phosphate and calcium actually out of the mitochondria actually cause all of these different problems. Not enough, too much adenosine triphosphate, and so it literally burns it out. So why is this important for antioxidants? Well, believe it or not, mitochondria also produce something called antioxidants, and it neutralizes something called free radicals. But the interesting thing about mitochondria, it also produces free radicals. So you got a neutralization. The antioxidants actually neutralizing the free radicals. Free radicals are those things that float around in your body that cause disease, illness, so forth and so on. With the mitochondria producing the antioxidants, obviously, it neutralizes it. However, if the mitochondria are not producing enough adenosine triphosphate, they get burned out. They don't produce enough antioxidants to neutralize the free radicals. So that means that most fibromyalgia patients have additional conditions, diseases, and so forth. I've not found any, in all my work with fibromyalgia patients since 1990, not found one fibromyalgia patient that just has fibromyalgia. You don't. You have other conditions. And I've gone over those before. And eventually what we'll do is we'll cover them again. There's at least 15 that have mimicking symptoms like fibromyalgia. That's why it's so difficult for doctors, again, to diagnose fibromyalgia properly. So there's two major antioxidants in your body. One is called glutathione. It's the mother of all antioxidants, so to speak. It's the one that comes first and neutralizes and negates a lot of the free radicals, those things that cause disease in your body. As we mature, as we age, that's another problem. We don't produce as many. But still, glutathione is the number one antioxidant. The other one is called SOD, superoxide dismutase, and that is also an antioxidant that actually fights the free radicals and keeps us healthy. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on SOD, but I will a little bit more on the glutathione. Very, very interesting. They've been able to reproduce glutathione and actually inject it into people's bodies for a variety of different conditions and diseases, including Parkinson's, which I've seen actually work. Once a person has a injection of the glutathione, Parkinson's patients oftentimes can walk and talk normally for a brief period of time. The problem is that the body evacuates the glutathione very, very quickly. So you may only have maybe a 15 or a half hour period of time where if it's actually put into your system, it's not washed out. But the Parkinson's patients obviously would just love to have any period of time where they would actually feel better. So problem with, of course, glutathione is that it washes out of your system unless your body produces it on a regular basis. And that's the hard part, because as you age or if you have other conditions and so forth, like I say, the mitochondria don't produce those antioxidants the way they should, like glutathione. However, since 2011, and if you want more information on it, I'll get it to you, but I've been using a product that's a patch. You put it on your body, nothing goes in your body, but it stimulates the body to produce high levels of glutathione or whatever you need to neutralize the free radicals. So I've been using those since 2011 very, very successfully. Once you build your body up, you don't have to change these patches very often. They were actually developed by the government for the Navy SEALs to keep them healthy, to actually, because they're obviously always in the field, and they want to keep them healthy so that they have the ability to fight and also protect our country. There's also patches in a variety of different things, sleep patches and pain patches, so forth and so on. If you want more information, check DCKen2000 at cs.com, DCKen2000 at cs.com, or Fibromyalgia Wellness Center or Stetson Chiropractic Clinic. We'll get you information on those. They're not expensive, and they work like a miracle. They really do. Like I say, I'm 73, and since 2011, I've had all sorts of problems with sinuses and so forth prior to 2011 because of all the dust and everything else in Arizona. But since I've been using these, I have not had any sinus infections, and I've had my health so that I can take care of my patients, which I'm very, very proud of. So the antioxidants are extremely important for you. But again, as you age, or the more conditions and illnesses that you have, it leaches away from the body's ability to fight those things. So you want to take care of, do everything you possibly can with yourself to make sure that you stay as healthy as you possibly can. Now, the other thing is something that we actually deal with as far as with the patients are concerned. When a patient comes in with fibromyalgia, or if they come in with high levels of inflammation, pain, chronic problems, so forth, we put them on a restricted hypoglycemic diet. We're going to talk about hypoglycemic next time and a few other things and more detail as far as this program is concerned. But what we do, it's not a starvation. We're not going to die. Okay, I hate the word diet. Okay, it's a restricted food intake that removes all of the inflammatory materials that we can think of or that are normal within your body from your foodstuffs. So what we do is we take sugar, gluten, trans fatty acids, and dairy out of your diet. How long? Probably about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, okay? To find out if they are negatively affecting you, you have to take them out of your system for a couple of weeks. Then you add one every 72 hours to find out whether or not you have a reaction. The reaction should be negative if you have a reaction. And in my books, I've always written about reactions like the 7 dwarfs. Itchy, scratchy, sneezy, dopey, headachy, bloaty. I know. What else am I going to say? Okay. What is abnormal? Anything is abnormal. I mean, if you get a headache or if you break into a sweat, your stomach starts grumbling, your ears start ringing, all these different things, that means that food probably is inflammatory to you, and you're probably addicted to it along with that. So if you take it out of your system, out of your normal foodstuffs for a couple of weeks, then you add one food that has been restricted every 72 hours. Why 72 hours? Well, because from mouth to evacuation, it's about 65 hours. So rather than say, okay, 65 hours, 3 days, because the vast majority of people will actually have a reaction literally within 15 minutes to half an hour, believe it or not. How many people, raise your hand during Thanksgiving, you're eating all these wonderful, rich, fantastic foods, and all of a sudden it's like, boom. I'm like in a daze, for crying out loud, because many of these foods you don't have, and you just get really tired, or you get maybe even break out in sweat. Like I say, all these things, well, that's because the foods probably are not good for you, and you don't even realize it. You say, oh, I'll be okay in a little while. But actually, they are inflammatory. I've fought for years with MDs. When I do my presentations, they'll come in and say, sugar is not inflammatory. Believe it or not, for some people it is, okay? And the only way to find out, and that's also fake sugars, which oftentimes have more chemicals in them than you can actually explain. There's some that have so many neurological deficits. I don't want to get into it, but I will probably now, but I'll get into it a little bit later on. You know those fake sugars. What are they? Well, those are the ones that are on the table outside at a restaurant that the birds refuse to pick at, because they can tell the difference between fake sugar and regular. They'll pull out the regular packets, but they'll leave the fake stuff because they know, gee, they'll say, I can't believe these humans are eating this garbage. Anyway, bottom line is that sugar is for many people inflammatory. Gluten, wheat, rye, barley, malt. Okay, those are things that have gluten in them. Now, it might be just in the United States, because I've had people go to Europe and they'll come back and say, I had all those wonderful pastries and bread, and so I didn't have any problem. When I come here, man, I can't eat this stuff. It bloats me up and gets me sick and nauseous and diarrhea and everything else. But the only way to find out if you have gluten sensitivity is by getting off of it for a couple of weeks and then wait and then have some when you get back, when you try it again. There's a lot of masquerading symptoms. Some are more severe than others. I have a daughter that was severely affected by gluten, ended up in a hospital, wouldn't listen to dad, had to listen to other doctors. Tell them, you have gluten sensitivity, I think you ought to stay off of this. So that was the end of the world until I took her out shopping at supermarkets. You might call them something else, but I call them supermarkets. and showed her the foods that she could eat versus the foods she couldn't. And it was like, oh, that's not so bad. There's a lot of foods I can eat. Sure, there are. Okay. Now there's a lot of gluten-free foods out there, but my goodness gracious, the government says you can't have 100% gluten-free. Keep that in mind. You cannot have 100% gluten-free. Just like in cereals, you can't have 100% bug-free. There's some bugs in your cereals or whatever else. Same thing with gluten. Okay, they allow a couple percent of gluten. You might be hypersensitive to that couple percent, believe it or not. Okay, so you got to stay off it for a while and then eat it and see what happens. Okay, but keep in mind it's wheat, rye, barley, malt. So you got to try all those different ones. Okay, in the old days, gluten foods were like eating cardboard. Now they're a lot tastier. However, again, read the ingredients. How much sugar, how much this, how much that, so forth, and the additives that they add to it. Okay, trans fatty acids. Trans fatty acids are very, very interesting. They are in all red meats and pork.